I'll use the word shootout because I think that's the way to describe what's probably the most balanced game that we're going to see on the weekend. You got the quarterbacks, Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence. You've got explosive wide receivers. You got quality tight ends. You got a very good Jacksonville defense. You have a not so good Charger defense. You got tremendous field goal kicking from the Bolts. I think this game is a pick 'em. This is as close as you can get. Now, that being said, I'm going to throw some numbers at you here. Then you can stand up and shout the way you want. Justin Herbert, superstar. There's no doubt. Justin Herbert has thrown for 4,700 plus yards, 25 touchdowns, has taken 38 sacks this season. His quarterback rating, he's dragged it up after a strange drop in midseason. His quarterback rating is now at 95. Austin Eckler, do everything. 1,637 all-purpose yards, run and catch. He's had 311 touches of the football this season. Spectacular. The underrated guy is Josh Palmer. He's got 72 receptions, and they may need him in this Saturday afternoon game. When they're on the field, there's no doubt that Kareem Allen, Mike Williams are really dangerous. A combined 121 receptions this season. Mike Williams has not practiced at all this week because of the bruise to the lower back. Now, they got another day. They travel Friday. They play Saturday night. Maybe that will be enough time for him to recover. But Josh Palmer becomes a real insurance policy there. I don't like the Bolts defense. I don't care what they did at the end of the season, John. It was against a bunch of substandard teams. And then last week, in the final game of the season, when they played all their veterans, they gave up 432 yards to Denver, the worst offense in the league. I don't like the fact that the Charger defense is giving up 5.4 yards per carry, 141 yards per game rushing, and their third down statistics, 43% completion rate. That's not real good. Hidden statistic, field goal kickers, and they've been spectacular. Nobody in the league is talking about what the Charger field goal kickers have done. 31 of 33 this season and 31 of 32 inside the 50-yard line. That's a lot of quality play. Mm-hmm. You look at some of the other kickers, other teams around the league, those numbers don't match. Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence, what great growth the second year. Had a very rugged first year, the whole Urban Meyer mess. Doug Peterson and he have really come up with a chemistry that works, and he has input into Peterson's offensive game plan. Trevor Lawrence's numbers are almost even Steven with Justin Herbert. Trevor Lawrence on the season, 4,100 yards, 25 touchdowns. Heavy-duty running back in Travis Etienne, his Clemson teammate, 1,125 yards. I bet you could not name any wide receiver in Jacksonville. No. Heck, I could go on a street corner, and I don't think anybody would know who the Jacksonville wide receivers are. Zay Jones and Christian Kirk, between them, 171 receptions. That's pretty impressive. One guy was a free agent, came from Arizona. The other guy was a street free agent that's been all over the league, and Zay Jones. And their tight end, Evan Ingram, a street free agent, got 73 receptions. And their defense, they're led by first-round draft pick Trayvon Walker's had a really good season. Draft pick 2 years ago, Josh Allen's had a really good season. They just play tough, and they begrudge you any yards or any first downs you get. The Chargers have won 4 of 5. They're feeling good, but who do they beat? The Chargers, John, have one win against a team with a winning record, and that's when they took apart Miami about a month ago. They haven't beaten anybody else with a winning record. Jacksonville's feeling pretty good. They've won 5 straight. They've won 6 of their last 7. And unlike the Chargers, the Cowboys have beaten Dak Prescott in Dallas. They have beaten Lamar Jackson when he was healthy in Baltimore. And they beat the Chargers early in the season. They beat the Chargers' brains out early in the season. So those are the numbers. Those are the storylines. Chargers, Jacksonville. I think the numbers are almost even, Steven. I do think Jacksonville is a much more physical team. And this sucker is being played on the Eastern Seaboard in Jacksonville, where suddenly everybody, the color of the day in the city of Jacksonville is teal. I think it's going to be a good game. I would hope it's not one and done for the Chargers, because if it is, then I think it's a disappointment of a season. But going to be fun watching the two kid quarterbacks. And I just gave you the statistics; are almost even, Steven. Okay, that's from my street corner. On your street corner, what are you saying?
I mean, I like this matchup. I like the two quarterbacks. I think it's going to be fun to watch them. You're talking about the kickers. Like, was it Dicker the kicker, right? I mean, that guy has been tremendous this year.
Yep.
But just think of all the disappointment the Chargers have had when Nate Kading was the kicker and how many games they choked in the playoffs. Are we going to have another choke job again this year? We'll find out. But this is going to be one of the better games this weekend.
I think it's the most balanced game. I think it's a pick'em game. My heart says Justin Herbert, because I just think that kid is a gamer and that kid is a winner. My concern came in the Friday press briefing from the coach. And when Brandon Staley started to talk about Jacksonville, he talked about Doug Peterson's team dictate tempo. Doug Peterson's team always ahead of the chains. Doug Peterson's team, we got to get that quarterback off his mark. Doug Peterson's team, we got to put them in third and long and put them behind the chains. So he's looked at the video and he's seen, I think, how dynamic and how physical and how tough the Jaguars are. It's going to be a really hard game. There's a lot of conversation, John, about the Bolts don't have very much experience. Well, a correction. That's why they put erasers on pencils. A correction. Justin Herbert's played in a lot of big games in his career, some in the NFL, and he's won, and a whole pile when he played at Oregon. He played in a lot of big bowl games against big-time teams. So I don't think he gets rattled with the enormity of the first playoff game. And even though there's a bunch of other guys that haven't been in the playoffs, they do have a whole pile of veterans here, led by their center, obviously some of those guys on defense. So I don't think first-time playoff for this group is a big thing, because the quarterback doesn't get freaked out at all.
Yeah, it's going to come down to the Chargers defense. You mean they were giving up so many yards on rushing. Are the Jaguars just going to run over them, kind of the way that Jacoby, did with the Raiders? So this is going to be a tough game for LA to win on the road, 3 time zones away.
Okay, pick them. I'm picking the Bolts.
Okay, I'm going to go Jaguars.
You're wearing teal.
I'm wearing teal.
You might not be here next week for the podcast.